Life has a lot of great pleasures, but I don't think any comes as close or is as mysterious as the pleasure of engaging in meaningful, deep, and open conversation with someone you resonate with. Being able to form a deep connection with somebody and go on that flow or that roller coaster ride of dialogue with somebody. And I was thinking recently, like, what allows that? Because if there's one thing that I find myself easily able to engage in is deep conversation with people. And I was reflecting recently, like, why is this pleasure so amazing? and how do you get to it? There's something special about getting in a conversation with somebody and the chemistry is there at such a deep level, even if the topic of the conversation isn't deep. But your connection with that person for some reason is deep. And is whether it's somebody you've known for decades and you just have the same likes and interests and sense of humor, or somebody you met for the first time and for some reason you just click, it just flows. There's something special about that, where everything outside of that conversation in that moment doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. Time is irrelevant. You can be sitting there for what feels like 15 minutes, but 2 hours has gone by. And there's a few things that I found that allow at least me to engage in this conversation, and I think it might be helpful to you. Maybe you've experienced this yourself. Maybe you've never thought about it. And I want to kind of discuss that here in this video today. All my life, I found myself, I don't know if I want to say capable, but I found myself more and more able to and resonating with people who are able to be open and share their true thoughts, unfiltered. When that happens, usually on a one-on-one setting, because I found that when there's more than a few people in any conversation, for some reason it gets shallower. The more people you add to a conversation, it seems to get shallower. Or maybe that's just my experience. But with one-on-one conversations, I find myself able to really get into this mode of flow, conversational flow. And it doesn't matter if the topic is something that is shallow on the surface, but when you can communicate and share your opinions and your thoughts and your ideas in an open and unfiltered way, and two people who have the self-awareness to really dig deep on their thoughts and have an opinion on it, it's a special experience. One of the things I realized is that throughout your typical day, you often have to kind of filter yourself, and you can't get too personal, you can't get too deep in a conversation or in a topic. Whether you're at work, whether you're speaking to someone casually at the grocery store, with the cashier, for example, like you can't engage in deep conversations throughout most interactions you have throughout your day. A lot of people with their family, they don't feel comfortable expressing their true thoughts and feelings, whether it's just because of the culture or societal norms or just the comfort level they have with people. But sometimes you have that friend or that one person you meet, and for some reason it just clicks. And I think one of the most important things that allow me to engage in deep and meaningful conversation is just the simple act of being willing to be open and honest. It's just the ability to articulate your thoughts without concern about what that person is going to think or how they're going to judge you, and just speaking your truth and being authentic. I've come to not like that word so much. I feel like it gets it's almost a cliche these days, but authentic, be open and genuine. And I think with social media these days, everything is a friend. A lot of people I notice are sharing their opinions through memes, or they're sharing videos of someone else's opinion and they're putting it out into the world with the impression that it's their own, but they're not verbalizing their own thoughts, their own feelings. The majority of the posts I see online are from people sharing everything but their own opinion. And sometimes that's because people are afraid to speak and to put themselves out there to be criticized or to be disagreed with. One of the biggest factors that leads me into having these great conversations and forming deep relationships with people, it's just the ability to think deeply and see what your thoughts and feelings are about a particular topic, and then expressing it, and have that person listen actively, receive that, and then add on to that, or maybe even disagree with that. That's the interesting thing about having deep conversations with people, is that you don't have to always agree. You can have two people that disagree on a particular conversation, but they're so willing to share their points and their perspectives and hear out the other person without judgment, that it just clicks. I just found myself throughout my typical day that it's so rare to engage in that conversation with somebody that has the willingness to listen, as well as the ability to be thoughtful and be aware of their opinion on a particular topic, and articulate and communicate it well. But I'm sure if you've ever had that situation where you meet somebody and you just click, you probably found that to be the case. Regardless of the subject matter, regardless of whether it's a like or dislike between the two of you on that particular topic, it's the ability to be open, the ability to be unfiltered, being willing for someone to be offended by it. Because the truth is, in order for you to share your truth and speak your mind, you're gonna have to be willing or be open to the fact that somebody might disagree with you, someone might take offense to that. And I'm not talking about things like racism, right? I'm talking about just the willingness to be open. Like, for example, if you're someone that disagrees with a government policy, for example, well, to express your raw, unfiltered opinions on that topic, you have to be open to someone else feeling the very contrary to that opinion and being offended by it. But the truth is, in order for us to be raw, for us to be real, for us to be thoughtful, for us to be critical thinkers, we're going to have to say some things that someone is inevitably going to disagree with. You know, when I make these YouTube videos, some topics, I go into it knowing that some people are going to disagree with it. Right? I had a video a couple months back essentially about the fact that I don't want kids. I believe it's called "To Men Who Don't Want Kids." Sure enough, the majority of people that commented on that video were women. So, surprise, surprise. And it was just interesting because it's a topic that when I've had this conversation, raw and unfiltered in real life, person to person, I found that people get really emotional about it and they take offense to it. And they're unwilling to engage in thoughtful dialogue back and forth, even if they disagree. But online, when you share that opinion, people come and they see it and they listen to it. And because it wasn't something that was forced upon them, they stumbled upon it, they're more open to that. And then I'll link the video up here above, and if you read the comments, you'll see that there's a lot of meaningful conversation that's accumulating there. And I think it's just because, a lot of people said that. I've never heard somebody have this conversation or share their thoughts about this so openly. Because it seems to be almost a shame for a lot of people if they don't want children to express that. For some reason, we feel ashamed, or we feel, sometimes you feel scared to go against societal norms and traditions. And if there's one thing that I think I'm good at, is just being blunt. Sometimes to a fault, where I'm almost too blunt sometimes. But that's I think that's a key characteristic about me that allows me to engage in meaningful conversations, because I'm willing to say the things that I feel, regardless of whether or not I think someone's going to disagree with me, even with the closest people in my life. One of the things I'm really trying to do more and more as I develop this channel and I put out more videos is to create content that simulates the experience I have when I'm having really in-depth conversations with someone, where it just flows and I feel like I'm really connecting with you. And in doing that, I think it will eventually create an audience connection between me and you, where it is a deeper conversation. It is a deeper connection. And through the dialogue and then the comments and the messages I get, it really creates a similar experience to when I meet up with a friend, or if I connect with a person for the first time and we form that deep and open and honest communication. Particularly in these times where it's harder to find friends, to meet new people. As you get older, at least in my experience, it becomes more and more rare that I engage in conversation with someone for the first time. Back in high school and in college, it came easy. Every day you're meeting new people. Every day you're forced to interact. But now with working, especially if you work from home, as I do, you just don't get the opportunity unless it's online. And that's where social media can come in. That's where YouTube comes in, making these videos. And what I realized is that some of my favorite content creators or podcasters or speakers or thinkers and philosophers, I connect with them so deeply, usually because they're thoughtful, usually because they're willing to speak their truth with the awareness that people might be offended. And that rawness, that just speaking your mind and finding your tribe, saying what you want to say, and then the people that resonate with it, despite the fact that other people might disagree. It's so rare to find these days. Sometimes I see online when people are expressing their concern for a certain social event that might be going on in the world, where they'll try to play both sides. And what I found is that when you try to do that, when you try to play both sides, when you try to please everybody, it prevents you from having a deep and meaningful connection with someone, because you're holding back, because you're filtering. And oftentimes these people, they're just so scared to offend. So when they share their opinion on social media, they think that they're playing a win-win situation. But a lot of times it's almost a lose-lose situation. When you try to appeal to everybody, you end up appealing to nobody. And that's one of the things I'm trying to do more and more is that when it makes sense to do that, maybe not at work, but when it makes sense to do that, when I have the opportunity, be more open, be more thoughtful, be more expressive of my emotions and how I feel, and just be willing to go deep, to have these conversations more intentionally throughout my day, whether on social media, through creating these videos, so on and so forth. The thing that I try to remember, and I want to encourage you to do as well, is when you're talking to someone, remember that you're both just two consciousnesses that were thrusted into this life on this earth. And you're just trying to find your way. And when you realize that you're talking to another human being, another consciousness that got that same confused start in the world that you did, kicking and screaming naked, you kind of begin to feel more human and realize that the other person is also a human being. And what that allows you to do, at least for me, is realize that we all have questions, we all have concerns, we all have interests, we all have opinions. We all have opinions that we are unwilling to share. We all have thoughts that nobody will know about. And the more vulnerable, it's a vulnerability. The more vulnerable you can be, the more you can open up that breastplate and expose yourself to another person and be willing to be criticized, be willing to be disagreed with, be willing to have a thought that counters yours and work through your feelings and ideas. The more deeper your connections get, and this is something I'm continuing to work with, to understand my feelings more, be willing to face and think through my feelings in order to be able to express it more clearly and accurately. I think all these things contribute to forming a deep connection and relationship, whether it's a friendship, a platonic relationship, a romantic relationship, the way you connect with your friends and family. I think it all adds to that. So my hope is that through these videos, I'll be able to form a deeper and deeper connection with you, whether or not you agree with the particular topic or the opinion that I share. And in turn, I would love for you to continue to engage in the comments, because that's the easiest way I get to dialogue and have conversations and share thoughts with you and everyone else who is willing to leave a comment on these videos. So let me know down in the comments, what do you think allows you to form deep relationships with people? That deep connection and bond, whether it's with your old friends or new acquaintances, where you just connect. Let me know down in the conversation. Let's have a discussion. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.